There's no amount of bullying from a doctor that would make me have weight loss surgery. There's no amount of manipulation and control from medical professionals that would make me do weight loss surgery.
And hello, YouTube, and welcome to the Body Honesty Project. My name is Lydia, and today we're talking all about weight loss surgery, and specifically Fatsapphicbro's views on weight loss surgery and how it is absolutely awful and something that they will never ever support. And to assist me in this conversation, I thought that there was no better guest to bring on the show other than BigT Bariatric. So the two of us are going to dissect this TikTok together. I really hope you enjoyed this conversation. It was really enlightening to speak to someone who has actually been through the bariatric surgery and see his views on what Fatsapphicbro is claiming. So let the chat begin. Okay, Big T in the house. Thank you for coming on the channel. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing great. So for today, we are going to be talking about bariatric surgery. So who better to have on the channel than Big T Bariatric? So I really think that his expertise are going to be really, really beneficial while we're dissecting this TikTok, because as we know, Fatsapphicbro has a lot to say about weight loss surgery. So let's jump right on it.
This person is genuinely asking how I feel about Roxanne Gay's weight loss surgery. I don't know anything about it. I didn't even know she had weight loss surgery. There's literally no amount of money anyone could ever give me that would make me agree to have weight loss surgery. There's no amount of bullying from a doctor that would make me have weight loss surgery. There's no amount of manipulation and control from medical professionals that would make me do weight loss surgery. Literally, you could offer me $10 million tomorrow to have weight loss surgery, and I would tell you to fuck off.
Were you ever bullied into weight loss surgery? Because that seems what Fatsapphicbro's first argument was, being bullied into it. Can you explain your experience, and was it something that you wanted or you felt that people pushed on you?
It's one of those things where it was suggested to me by doctors, by family members. I was supposed to get weight loss surgery like 10 years ago, and it just didn't happen because I was scared, and it was sort of a newish thing. I know it's been around longer than 10 years, but I knew somebody who had a cousin who just got really sick from it or this or that. And there's all these horror stories from it 10 years ago. And so I was kind of going through the process of getting it, and I just didn't do it. I got scared. And so I waited 10 years and I gained a bunch more weight, and I kind of regret not getting it sooner. I would have been in a lot better place right now, and I wouldn't have wasted 10 years of my life not getting it. So was I bullied by doctors or anybody? No, nobody bullied me. It was just something that my doctors suggested was an option for me. But of course, the first thing they do is, hey, you're a little heavy on the scale there. Maybe we should try a diet or this or that. I did go through the bariatric program first, and that was, they gave me a weight requirement if I need to lose this amount of weight before I get surgery. And so the first time I was in the program, I'm like, I don't even know if I want weight loss surgery yet, but I want to be in the program because they do have a therapist, they do have a dietitian. And so they really worked with me for months and months before that, with no pressure whatsoever to get the surgery. So, I mean, I've never been bullied by a doctor. I've never been pushed into it. At worst, I got suggested it.
So what was the delay in you getting started with the weight loss? Because you said that it was suggested, but it took another 10 years. So what was the problem? Would you constitute the 10 years that it took to get you to do it bullying? Or was it an internal struggle for those 10 years to finally go, Tony, do it? Like, I don't know. Can you explain?
Yeah, it was definitely an internal struggle with it. When you're in your 20s, like a lot of the fat activists today, they don't feel like there's anything wrong with being fat. You feel indestructible when you're young. You don't think there's anything wrong. And so mostly it was just everybody else saying, hey, you should lose weight. And, doctors saying you should probably start thinking about your weight. I've had doctors tell me, you're not going to make it to 40 if you keep going this way. But I had nothing wrong with me. I didn't have any knee problems. I didn't have any high blood pressure or anything else like that. So the only thing I was fat. I even had a doctor tell me that, hey, Tony, you are just a skinny person living in a fat person's body. All the medical tests are fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You should start losing weight now. But because there was nothing wrong, and I talk about on my channel all the time that you really need a rock bottom moment for you to realize that you need to change. Because other than that, it's just everybody else suggesting it to you. And if you really don't want to change, but you're getting all this pressure to change, you might try to change. You might try this diet or that diet, and it's not going to work because you're not really into it. You're not really putting your full gear, your full whatever into it. You're not really trying it. You're just doing it because everybody asked you to do it.
And can you explain your rock bottom moment?
Yeah, my rock bottom moment was getting closer to 40 and just hearing that in my head over and over again. Tony, you're not going to make it to 40. Tony, you're not going to make it to 40. And then I was pushing 700 pounds. I was 671 at my highest. And I woke up one morning and I had one good knee because I blew my other one out playing football when I was 13. So my whole life it's been bad. So I had one good knee, and I literally woke up one morning and it was in agony. So now I have no good knees. And so I'm trying to go to the doctor. I'm trying to get figured out, hey, what's going on with my knees? And my doctor can't do nothing. She goes, you're too big for the MRI machine. So you're just going to have to lose weight. And so they send me to ortho to get an x-ray on it. And I find out that I have arthritis in both of my knees. But they do suspect that I did wear away all my cartilage because of my size. But there's nothing they can do about it. They say if you were to get knee surgery right now, you would just re-injure your knee because being as big as you are, you can barely walk as it is. So if you go and you get a reconstructed knee, it's not going to heal right. You're not going to be able to do anything, and you're just going to re-injure it right away. So the only way to deal with that pain is to lose weight, and then you can get your knee surgery.
And were you angry with the medical practitioners, like because they wouldn't do the things because you didn't fit in the MRI machine? Did you scream fatphobia, or like how did you feel at that time?
Yeah, I just think it's absurd when all the fat activists act like that, like there's all this medical bias. I know there's some, but just to that degree where if they tell you you can't fit in an MRI machine, that it's their fault. No, it's absolutely my fault. I did that to myself. I wore away the cartilage in my knees. I got all these warnings for the last 10, 15 years that I need to lose weight. Like, I knew this was coming. Like, it wasn't a big surprise. Everybody's told me for all these years, this is going to happen to you. You're going to have all these issues that's going to start popping up. Guess what? They started popping up. I started having the high blood pressure. I got diagnosed with severe sleep apnea. I lost a job because I had severe sleep apnea. I was a truck driver. And so I was dealing with all these other problems and issues, and they started popping up left and right. And I was in a crazy amount of pain, back pain, knee pain, leg pain, all kinds of pain. And it just became overwhelming to me. And it's like, you know what? The doctor was right. I'm going to die if I don't take care of it. And I felt like because of how little time that I had left, I felt like weight loss surgery was the only solution for me. So I don't really think weight loss surgery is for everybody. But if you are in the worst circumstance where you probably are pretty close to death, you are 700 pounds and you don't think you can lose that on your own, having a tool like weight loss surgery is going to be a great thing to help you get through that. But like I said, it's not just the surgery. There should be a whole program behind it, therapy and a dietitian, and they're going to work with you on your diet for before and after surgery. Because if you don't get, and I say this on my channel all the time, that it's all up here. It's not here. It's not physical.
I agree with that. 100%.
So if you don't fix this part of it, if you don't get the mental right, you're going to gain weight after surgery. And so they do find people that are stretching their stomachs back out. They're even dying. Like I heard the story of somebody who got out of surgery and went to a buffet and killed himself because he wasn't ready to be eating the food that he ate, but he didn't get the mental part of it right.
Right.
So I mean, it's part of it. It's like a whole thing.
Right.
Weight loss surgery is awful. The side effects are awful. Almost everyone eventually has massive complications. A lot of them die. Most of them require more than one surgery. I will never ever support anyone's weight loss surgery. Now, I understand that some people will agree to do weight loss surgery because they're being bullied by their doctors and they're being refused medical treatment until they have this surgery. I personally would still not agree to weight loss surgery under literally any fucking condition. Not a single one. When I say that I am anti-weight loss surgery, I am not kidding.
Now, I want to know your perspective on all the complications of weight loss surgery, because I'm assuming that as someone who's had it, that you spent a lot of time researching it and knowing what you were getting into. So what does what Fatsapphicbro is saying, does it hold any weight of the dangers people are dying from weight loss surgery? What do you think?
It doesn't hold any weight at all because, like I said, or like you just said, I did do the research and I was scared because, like I said, I heard the stories, I heard the anecdotes, I heard it all. But, you know, I'm not going to jump into something like that without doing my research. And I think most people who get surgery kind of do the same thing. There are complications for every surgery. You can die from getting your teeth pulled. You know, there's just, you know, there's always going to be medical complications, stuff like that. So, you know, if you really need surgery to save your life, being obese is really one of the things that you can die from quicker than the weight loss surgery. And that's one of the things that I looked at. Like, people were telling me that, you know, the chances of dying from a massive heart attack were greater than me dying on the table getting weight loss surgery. So, I mean, those kind of complications are there. And every big person my size or how big I was at my heaviest, like if you watch my 600-pound life, they say all the time, like, I'm surprised I woke up this morning. Like, you're really scared every single day that today's going to be the day, because you just don't know when your body is going to give out on you. So the chance of dying on the table is very minimal. I mean, when you look at the stats and all the research and everything else, like, the mortality rate of dying has gone down dramatically over the years because weight loss surgery is one of the more commonly practiced. And if I'm correct, it's the most commonly performed surgery out there today. Like, there's no other surgery that's more common than weight loss surgery. I was the 7th surgery my doctor performed that day that I had my surgery.
Right.
So it's very common. They get a lot of practice. I even went through and I watched how they did the surgery. And that really calmed my nerves a bit because it wasn't as big, it wasn't as dramatic as I played into it in my own mind, right?
Right.
You know, my mind just kind of went crazy thinking, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. But then when I watched the surgery, there's all kinds of videos on YouTube of them doing it. I'm like, that's all? That's all it is? It's not that big of a deal. So, but yeah, I think the death rate is like 0.02% or something like that. And even then, it's because of your body might not have been big enough, or your body was probably too big to handle it. And
Right.
so that's one of the things that they want to make sure happens before you get weight loss surgery. Most doctors will try to get you to lose some weight before your surgery because the less you weigh, the less the risks are. And of course, the heavier you are, the more chance of something bad happening is. So your doctor will do everything that they can to make sure it's safe. From anesthesia to making sure you lose weight to getting scans of your abdomen and just every single test you can imagine, probably 5 or 6 tests that I did. Psychological tests, like, they went through the whole gambit to make sure that my surgery was safe. And like I said, I started this journey at 671. He wanted me to be under 600 pounds. So that's what I had to do. I've had a lot of people that are like, well, Big T, you took the easy way out, you got the weight loss
I don't
surgery. I'm
agree
like,
with
no,
that at all.
I still had to lose. I still lost 100 pounds before my surgery. Like,
Right.
you know, that's part of it. You know, it's they're going to do whatever they can to make sure it's a safe and successful surgery.
Right. So from your perspective, what makes Fatsapphicbro so venomous about his, like, he has such disdain for weight loss surgery and he doesn't support it? Like, being someone who was at that point of wanting to get weight loss surgery, do you understand the mentality of those that are so against it? Like what's driving him to speak like this when you know that the science backs you up and not him or them, sorry.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I mean, when I started my YouTube channel, I had no idea that fat acceptance movement existed. I had no idea. I had started off just talking about my journey, and then I was like, I'm getting kind of bored. I think other people are getting kind of bored just because weight loss is a slow process. So I'm like, all right, let me do some my 600-pound life reactions, and then my channel started growing. And then I got all these, hey, check out Fatsapphicbro, check out Amberlynn Reed, check out Hungry Fat Chick. And I'm like, I have no idea who these people are. And then come to find out after a few months, it's like there is a lot of people who are in this fat acceptance movement, and I do not understand their mindset at all.
Right.
I don't. I mean, I've been there from the beginning. I've always been big since I was 5 years old. I've had diets thrown on me. I've been forced to have the cabbage soup diet. I've been forced to get on exercise bikes. I've always been made fun of. I've never had a girlfriend. Like, I've always been made fun of for that. And like, I understand what it's like to be big from a small age, being bullied and picked on and going through abuse and everything else. Like, but I've never been like so anti weight loss. I've always known since I was a kid that my life would have been better if I had lost weight. I didn't figure out the secret behind it. I didn't understand why I kept getting bigger until my dad died. And then I realized that, wow, I'm an emotional eater. Like I ran to food whenever I was sad, whenever I was angry, whenever I wanted to celebrate. Like I always ran to food. That's how my whole life has been. So I
Right.
kind of understood that, food was my coping mechanism. And the consequences of that is that I kept getting bigger and bigger. And so I realized I needed to get the mental part of it down before I could be successful at losing weight. Once I realized that, I'm like, wow, weight loss can happen for anybody.
Yep, I agree.
And, it's like all these people have all these excuses. Well, I have this issue, I have this disease, I have this or that. I'm like, I went through all those excuses for 20 years, 20 years. But suddenly I get the mental part of it right. I'm able to lose 200 pounds. I just lost
That's
200
amazing.
pounds last week. That I just crossed the 200 pounds lost mark last week. So
It's
it's like,
amazing.
yeah, I was able to do it.
You can do it.
So all the excuses that I'm big boned or I have a slow metabolism or all that. And I'm not saying it was easy or I didn't have weeks
Of course
where
not.
I stalled or anything else like that. But I never had a week where I gained weight. I either stalled or was losing.
Right.
So it's like, if you stick with it and you know the right way to do it and you get the mental part of it down, whether it's addiction or anything else like that, well, you're going to lose weight. But
I
where
agree.
I think Fatsapphicbro and these other fat activists are coming from is they don't want to give up their addiction.
No, no,
Because
they
then,
want the world to make it okay to indulge in their addiction rather than facing it head on. They
Mhm.
want us to all say that it's okay. Like, what I really hate about this is I believe that we should not be stigmatized for having an addiction, but that doesn't mean that you get to continue doing it. Like, you should be able to go, I have a drug problem, I'm an alcoholic, I'm an overeater, and it's not stigmatized. But saying that doesn't mean that you still get to do it. It means I have identified with a problem that's completely normal. Everyone, it's completely normal, but I do struggle with it. That's what I think. Like, I don't believe that the destigmatizing of obesity involves saying, but it's continue to overeat, continue to binge eat. I think that we should be more compassionate that people have these problems. People have drug addictions, people have alcohol addictions, gambling addictions, sex addictions. These are all normal things. And we should remove the shame of having it without endorsing the behavior.
Mhm. What's that show? I think that's on A&E where someone's addicted and they have their whole family come around them. And have you seen that show?
Yeah, it's like an intervention sort of.
Intervention, that's the name of it.
Mhm,
It's like when you watch Intervention and the whole family comes around them and
mhm,
tries to rally behind them and say, hey, you have a problem, you need to fix it.
mhm,
Like most of the time, they're not for that. They're like, I love my addiction. I don't care what you
exactly.
say. They choose their addiction many times. I've grown up with addiction my entire life. I mean, my parents, my grandparents, everybody had addiction to drugs, alcohol, my whole life. My dad was in and out of jail for drug addiction and alcoholism and stuff like that. He had DUIs and everything else before he died. And the reason why he died is because he was drinking at work and he wasn't paying attention to what he was doing, and he was crushed to death by a machine. So, I mean, alcoholism killed my dad.
Right.
So I understand addiction. And my addiction when my dad died is I ran to food. So,
Right.
I mean, I totally understand where people are coming from when, especially when you watch like My 600-Pound Life, and the way they describe food is it's my best friend. It's
Right.
my lover. It's a warm hug. It's the sunset at the end of the day. Like it's the greatest part of my day. Like that's what food is to them.
Yeah.
And so I understand the addiction part of it, and that's why I'm more sympathetic towards overweight people on my channel than probably many others, because I've been there. I understand the addiction part of it. I understand that most of them been through trauma, like I've been through trauma, and so it's like I really get that part of it. But at the same time, I really respect the people who sat down with me and said, Tony, you're going to die. Tony, this is a problem. Tony, you're eating me out of house and home. Tony, you broke my furniture. I don't want you sitting on my couch anymore. Like, you need to get this figured out. Or doctors saying you're not going to make it to 40 if you don't stop what you're doing.
Exactly.
Like, it's a real problem. And if you're just going to throw a fit and say, well, I have a right to be fat. Well, yeah, you have a right to be fat. But
and people have right to be alcoholics and drug addicts and gamblers, and they have the right to do whatever self-destructive behavior that they want to do. That doesn't mean that we have to endorse it.
Yeah, we don't have to endorse it, and you're not going to erase the consequences of it, no matter how hard you try. I mean, you're just not going to do it. You're fighting this like you're fighting civil rights or something, and it's absolutely absurd because it's not a civil right issue. You are literally destroying your life. You are destroying the lives of the people around you, and you may not even realize that, but you are, because addiction impacts everybody around you.
Yep. I believe that this is completely an addiction problem. However, I myself have a past, not with food, but with a plethora of other maladaptive behaviors that I've had issues with, that I'm still work with therapists to work through. And I believe, this is my personal perspective, that programs like AA, for example, have done addiction a bit of a disservice with the whole mentality of how many days clean, back to day one. This is a problem for me because I think it really fucks with people's heads of, hey, you know what? I didn't binge on food for a month. Then I had one binge. Oh, I'm back to day one. Dude, you didn't binge for 30 days. That's something. So I really feel, I'm bringing this up because with fat acceptance, I believe that they take that mentality of if you slip, you slip up, that you can't do it, you slip up, you can't do it, so you just might as well eat all the time, rather than an actual normal view of, how about you just try? And then, you know what, you binge one day and you get back up and go, oops, okay, back at it. And you continue on. It's not undoing. It's not like, oh, I made a mistake, so therefore the whole initiative is toast.
Yeah, one of the things that they taught me when I went to the bariatric clinic with my dietitian and even therapy, because I would often okay, I messed up this morning. I ordered out McDonald's for breakfast because let's face it, the steak, egg, and cheese bagels are pretty good. And so it's like, if I failed that day, my mentality was, okay, I can start over tomorrow. And my dietitian was like, no, you could start over right now. Like, you made a mistake this morning. That doesn't mean you have to tank the rest of your day and think that you're going to give yourself an excuse to eat bad for the rest of the day. And before you know it, you've eaten a tremendous amount of calories.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, well, you had a big breakfast this morning, cut back for the rest of the day and even that out.
Yeah, but fat acceptance people will say that's an eating disorder, Tony.
That's ridiculous. I mean, I just hate that whole argument of it's an eating disorder. Guess what's an eating disorder? Being
what
fat.
You're doing right now. Exactly.
I mean, eating disorder doesn't mean you're restricting calories. It could also mean that you are just engorging yourself. That's an eating disorder. It's still an addiction.
It is horrible. And I think it is absolutely medical abuse and medical neglect that fat people are being forced to agree to and consent to these surgeries, because coerced agreement is not consent. Requiring a person to have weight loss surgery before you will treat them like a fucking human being is not consent. We are not working on an informed consent model as a medical industry, and that is super fucked up.
I think we already touched on this. We can recap a little bit, but the informed consent, when the whole requirements, you can't have the surgery until you lose weight. What do you think about that as a human right?
I think that was just one of the dumbest things I've heard a fat activist say. I mean, it's crazy. Um, I was not coerced. I was not forced. And my doctors did treat me like a human being when they saw the humanity in me and they saw that I deserved to live. And so they suggested ways for me to lose weight. And if that didn't work and I kept gaining weight, maybe surgery was an option.
Right.
And then their comprehensive program that again fixed the mind, that was able to get me in to see my dietitian monthly and get weigh-ins and all this stuff. Like, they rallied around me and they supported me. And we have support groups even now on Facebook and Zoom and everything else. Like, it was a comprehensive program and they
It was
supported me.
supportive. It wasn't
Yeah.
coerced. It was a supportive initiative, encouraging.
And at any moment I could have said, yeah, I'm out of the program now.
Right.
It was like, they didn't force me into it. It was me getting to a point where I was hitting rock bottom with my weight. It was like, I need to do this. And so I got involved. And then I found out that just with all the support they gave me and the therapy and everything else, I was like, wow, this is actually working. I'm losing weight consistently.
It's amazing that Fatsapphicbro can speak about something that they've never been through, but with such passion.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it too. He's never been through it.
Right.
But he thinks that it's all medical bias and medical hatred towards fat people. It's like, no, they treat me like a human because they see the humanity in me. They want me to live. They want me to be healthy. And guess what? Fatsapphicbro is not healthy, just like I wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
If they didn't care about my humanity, they would have been like, okay, well, we're just going to play along with you and your delusions. And so we're just going to let you stay fat because that's what you want to do. And you want to play fat guy and everything else. Then, okay, we'll just say everything's okay with you, even though your blood pressure skyrocketing, even though you're going to die of sleep apnea if you don't get a CPAP, even though, you know, your heart's going to burst or you might get a stroke, or, hey, you're pre-diabetic, or any of these things that, you know, obesity causes. You know, it's like, okay, you know, we're not going to treat you for none of that because, you know, you're just living in la la land and want to pretend like everything's fine.
Yeah.
When in reality, you're on death's door.
Well, we want our medical professionals to take care of us, not lie to us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, how can they do their job ethically by not giving in to this delusion that being fat is no big deal? When all the research, I don't care what they say, they pick and choose their so-called science that has nothing to do with reality or studies that came out in 1958 or something, but they don't look at any real modern research that talks about the dangers of being obese.
Yep.
And they don't look at the experiences of you know, people like me who got to that point where they were almost dead.
Right.
And said, you know what, I need to lose weight, but they don't care. They still think it's fat phobic.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
Okay. Any kind of intentional weight loss is fat phobia. It's like, what if I was about to die?
Exactly.
So, how do I feel about her weight loss surgery? I feel shitty about it. I feel bad for her. I feel sad that she felt that she had to surgically alter her body in a way that is so unnatural, all because she wants to lose weight, or maybe feels pressure from doctors to lose weight. I honestly don't know anything about this. I haven't read about it. I don't know why she got the surgery, but it's incredibly heartbreaking. I genuinely feel heartbroken because there's a good chance that she will deal with lifelong complications, and there's a good chance she might die from this.
Okay, so what I find really interesting about this is that at the end of this, Fatsapphicbro says that they do not know anything about the circumstances. yet they just spent 3 minutes ripping them person for having weight loss surgery and it's evil, and they don't know anything about what led them to it, yet they have a very, very strong opinion that it's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, just when he was talking about the whole complications of it and everything else, I'm like, you're gonna die of obesity if you don't get it under control. Like, there's 100% chance of that happening, while there's a
Mhm.
0.02% chance of dying on the table. So, what is greater? Yeah, you might live a few more years, but you're gonna live a few more miserable years and all kinds of agony and just dealing with all kinds of health issues. Okay,
Right.
so what's easier? Actually getting the surgery if that's what you need. Again, I'm not saying everybody needs it who's overweight, but if you really need it and you're that close to death, then go ahead and get it. The
Exactly.
complications are less risky. And again, if you get into the right program that has all the help and support that you need for you to help you lose weight successfully, like it's a good program. They're not going to put you under the knife if they don't think that you can survive it. If you don't, they do heart tests and everything else. Like, they want to make sure that you can survive it. Just like
Exactly.
on My 600-Pound Life, I know there's a lot of criticism for that show, but even Dr. Now will not do the surgery if the tests don't bear out, if they think that their heart is not strong enough, if they haven't
Yeah. I
lost
mean, the
enough
show is
weight.
sensationalized, but he's still a
Yeah,
doctor.
I just can't believe he's talking about complications. I mean, there
Mhm.
are some complications, and I'm not going to say that there's not. And I did a short today during lunch where I talked about how I woke up in the middle of the night and I had all this stomach acid stuck in my throat.
Mhm.
That's just one of the things of getting sleeve surgery. You have a lot of acid,
Right.
but eating a lot of bad, terrible food, I also had acid reflux from that. And when I
Right.
started losing weight, that went away. And then now that I have surgery, I have it again, but you have prescription antacids and stuff like that to help you deal with that. But there are some complications, but the complications I went through being almost 700 pounds, much, much worse. And now that I've
Right.
lost 200 pounds, my life is completely better.
Okay, so there is only one more section left in this horrendous Fatsapphicbro TikTok. So let's hear the last section.
Weight loss surgery is medical fat phobia. It is medical abuse. It is medical neglect. And it is literally killing us.
Okay, we went out on a doozy, and that's the hand. This is the expression I want for my thumb. I love it when you interrupt. It talks with the.
If
That's
you
my
watch any
favorite.
of my if you watch any of my last few videos, like, I'll just do a clip of me going when I do fat activism stuff. It's
So, what do you think of Fatsapphicbro's last comments?
I don't know. It's kind of like what I was just saying, just letting people be fat without dealing with the consequences of it, without telling people the dangers of what's going on. I think that's malpractice. It's like any other thing. If you had somebody in your family who was an alcoholic, I mean, who got really, really bad with it
Yeah.
and was just near death's door, and they were getting chronic liver disease from it, alcoholic chronic liver disease, and they were going to die if they didn't stop drinking, and then you expected your doctor to say there's nothing wrong with him. He doesn't have a problem with alcohol. That's alcohol phobic. That's whatever. I
Right.
mean, we're literally talking about the same thing. That's apples to apples. We're not
Mhm.
making different comparisons there. Like, the
Mhm.
same thing, because you can get fatty liver disease from
Right.
being overweight. It can destroy your liver, with 200 other diseases and illnesses that you can get from being fat. I
Right.
mean, it's just to just act like that any kind of doctor trying to provide health and support and care for their patient in any way, if they're overweight, is fat phobic. It's just ridiculous, because
Mhm.
more people are dying from obesity than probably any other illness or disease right now.
So,
Because
what would you consider is medical fat phobia versus the medical fat phobia that Fatsapphicbro is saying?
I mean, I haven't experienced it, so I wouldn't know. But I guess if I had to make a declaration about it, I would say, if a doctor would just automatically say, "We're not even going to treat you. You just need to lose weight," and then maybe we'll look at you. That might be fat phobia. I mean, it's like,
Mhm.
you should at least do tests. You should at least try your best to do scans and do what you can. I remember times when I needed to get my back scanned because I threw my back out and I wanted to figure out what's going on, but my abdomen was too big. They couldn't see through all the fat to
Right.
see my spine. I mean, it's just that's a consequence of being fat. Like that's something that medical science couldn't provide an answer for. So I couldn't get treatment. They're
Right.
not going to give me like pain medication if they can't confirm that I have a back problem. That's not fat phobia. But if they
Love
just
your
look,
raw, realistic portrayal. And I think that that's why YouTube loves you and why your channel is growing so quickly, Tony. Like you're genuine and honest and you tell the truth and don't sugarcoat anything. And it's refreshing. Just wanted to thank you.
well, I often say that sugarcoating things leads to diabetes. So that's why I try to be as honest as possible. I really appreciate you having me on.
That's really great. Thank you. I want to thank BigT Bariatric once again for coming on the channel. It was a really fun conversation. And if you enjoyed it, there's a second part to this conversation on his channel. I'll be sure to link it in the description. So until next time, stay body positive, but also body honest.